you need to do star jumps or anything?
No, I think I'll be all right.
Okay,
God, I'll be out of breath then. I'll be like dead man walking. Rob Sinclair mentioned your mortgage mingles, whatever you call that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, last night to everybody. He said you should listen to this. Paul Brett, Monty, Lee Carasavas, and one other. Is it Louisa?
Yeah.
And he actually physically said it in front of everybody.
Oh, fantastic.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
Oh,
He said, make sure you
nice.
listen to it. Everyone's talking shit, he said.
Welcome to the BTS Podcast. With me today is Dale Jannels, a veteran and innovator in the mortgage industry. Dale is the Managing Director of Impact Specialist Finance, a top mortgage broker and distributor. In addition to his role at Impact, Dale is CEO of One Mortgage System, a platform transforming the mortgage process through technology and data integration. His contributions have earned him a spot on the executive committee of the Open Property Data Association, where he promotes industry-wide innovation. Dale's journey from a family-run business in his parents' front room to leading an award-winning company is truly inspiring. Today, we're focusing on OMS and learning more about how it's changing the industry for the better. So let's dive into our conversation and find out more. Morning, how you doing?
I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm okay. All right. How was...
Thank you for having me on.
We're filming this the morning after the Amy dinner. Dale and I have just been talking. He said he was very, very good. No drinking. So he's just full of fatigue as opposed to alcohol.
Absolutely right. It's good night. Good to be here.
Yeah, good. It's not those sort of get-togethers where there aren't awards. They're actually really nice, aren't they? Because it's a different vibe.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the right people in the right room. I think everything was so positive yesterday. And it was one of those scenarios where everyone can relax. You don't have to worry about whether you're going to win, you're going to not win. You can have good conversations with the industry colleagues and friends that you've been working with for so long. And it's just a relaxed atmosphere. It was a really, really good night.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Okay, so we're going to start with the questions for you because everyone is very interested to understand a bit more about OMS. Do you ever call it OMS? Do you sit there and do you like a meditation? OMS, OMS. That's what you should do.
I probably need to just to relax.
Yeah. That could be like the answer phone, or when people are on hold or whatever. OMS. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Okay, so Mr. Jannels, and by the way, Dale and I go back more years than I care to mention. So if people think I'm being over familiar, that's why.
Absolutely. We've had many a night out. Yeah.
Explain what One Mortgage System is and what inspired you to create it.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So, I mean, it was one of those things. It was born out of necessity. We needed in the mortgage broker and the mortgage packager side, our other businesses that we run, we needed a system that could deal with B2C and also B2B. And at the time in 2017, there was just no other systems out there, and I didn't want to sort of invest into 2 or 3 different systems to do what I wanted to do. So Neil and I, brother, decided that we would create our own system internally, and it was very straightforward. We knew exactly what we wanted, being brokers, and I still sell, by the way, so I'm in the market all day, every day. But we had a good idea of exactly what we wanted to make it work for B2C, B2B, networks, lenders, and so on and so on. And what happened was simple little things. At 4:00 on a Monday morning, we would send out a pipeline report to you guys as you're in your old lender hat in the lender world, and it would say how many dips we've done that week, how many inquiries are in the system, how many applications we're processing as a packager, so that you could manage your tranche of funds before we'd actually send the application in. Because obviously once the application goes in, you know exactly what's happening, but you don't know what's happening until the application went into the system. So 4:00 every Monday morning, every single lender on our pipeline would get a report that said, here's your tranche of funds, here's what we've done, here's what we sold last week. And even stuff like, if our guys were phoning up the BDMs, they would think about, Mr. Smith, et cetera, and they would see Mr. Smith's dip coming on the system. And that gave the BDMs, a good knowledge that they going in to see Impact, or Atom as it was back in those days, would then be beneficial, and they could see the fruits of their labor, and it wasn't wasted time, and so on. So the lenders then started saying to our competitors, why aren't you doing this? Can you do this? Can you set it up automated, et cetera, et cetera? And a lot of them were like, no, we can do it manually, but you might get it by Wednesday or Thursday, rather than first thing on a Monday morning. And So we got a few knocks on the door. Can we have a look at your system? And it was a case of no. And in the end, we decided, actually, do you know what? This is a possible business opportunity. Let's see what we can do. So we started off with a few of our competitor colleagues, and we're all friends in this industry. There's plenty of business to go around. And very quickly, and obviously COVID hit pretty hard, and that was awful for everybody. But what it also did was it highlighted how many brokers were sitting at home not able to access their servers in the office. They couldn't get through the firewalls and so on and so on. They had to be in the office to access their servers. So actually, during that period, we got a lot more calls saying, we've heard about OMS, can we have it internally, and so on. And it's really started from there. And I would say the last sort of 24 to 36 months are where it's really taken off now. So we're doing around about 1.2 billion in mortgages every single month. It's about 4.5 to 5,000 cases that are going through the system on a day-to-day basis. We've got 90% of the packages on board. We've got 90% of the second charge brokers on board. And it was just one of those things that it was right place, right time, a decision that we made, and it's obviously come off beneficial. Yeah, what's happened over the last 24 months is the lenders now started knocking on our door.
Yeah,
so the lenders have started knocking on our door now as well, saying, can we actually, if you can do it so well for the CRM side, can you then do it in the lender origination side as well? So that's where we moved into.
Yeah, absolutely. So it started off as a CRM, and you're iterating and evolving it into a lender front-end platform, effectively. Was that
correct? Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah, okay. It's a full lender origination.
I think what people would be interested to hear is how you, excuse the pun, made such an impact, because I speak to other technology firms that have some fantastic tech, but may find it challenging to actually break into the marketplace. So I know your system's good. I've seen it in action. But there are lots of good systems. So what do you think 100%. Sets you apart and OMS into how you have got the traction?
That's a really good point. And I think there's a couple of angles to look at that. First of all, we've listened to every single customer we've taken on board. And, what do they want on a day-to-day basis? The bit about OMS is it's flexible, and you can change, Mr. Broker, you can change everything from the workflows, the stages, the tasks, how you work today compared to how you work tomorrow, all the templates, the emails, the text messages, and so on and so on. Everything within the system you can change. There's about 750 odd different permissions that you can turn on or turn off, depending on whether you're the broker, the case manager, the underwriter, the salesperson, and so on and so on. So all of those are completely changeable. The second part of this is that we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So we didn't want to become a sourcing system. We didn't want to become a criteria engine or anything else. There's a lot of good software programs out there and third-party integrations that we've spoken to and thinking, well, if we bring that into our space, so OMS sits in the middle, and then we bring all these great things all around it. So we're the center framework, effectively. And you have one trusted input into that respect. And we have two-way APIs going into all of these different third parties. But from the user's point of view, they only see OMS. So whether it be Experian, it goes out and comes back into OMS. Whether it be HomeTrack, it goes out and comes back in as OMS, and so on and so on. And that's where we really wanted to, we didn't want to be an expert in everything. We wanted to be an expert in what we do, and then bring the best of the industry into plugging into the system and making it worthwhile.
So you've created a structure that helps brokers, and my mantra is structure has its own integrity. You put it all together, and then it has a value that's exponential to the sum of its parts, if you like.
Yeah.
So can you explain a little bit on a day-to-day basis how it would help a broker?
So we talked right at the start. We talked to a lot of brokers and said, what do you use? What to run your business? What do you use? And it was quite scary that some of them would say, well, we use 3 different systems. We use our own internal CRM. We use the network version. We use a criteria or sourcing function, and some of them were using 11 different systems, 11 different systems, 11 different licenses, 11 different logins, and so on and so on. And that gave them 11 different chances to get that name wrong for that client. Because you mistype that name once and do an Experian search on it, or an Equifax search or whatever, you're going to create an alias of that person. And all of a sudden, if that goes all the way through to offer, then effectively, if that name is wrong, you've got to start again from scratch and redo the whole lot, because it's all based on what you're putting in from day one. So we wanted to make it as simple as possible with the least amount of touch points. So the ideal scenario is that the client is sitting there tonight watching Love Island, filling out a very, very mini fact find, etc. And at the same time, in the background, it's doing a credit search, it's doing an ID check, it's doing all your anti-money laundering searches, and it's doing like a know your customer. So that when the broker comes in tomorrow morning at 9:00, they have got the credit search showing all their defaults and CCJs. The credit search possibly would also give us some of the liabilities they've got, credit cards and so on and so on, so you can half fill out the budget planner. You've got a copy of their ID because they were giving you permission. They've done a little video and says 1, 2, 3, etc., which has then been police checked in the background. So and then you've got, if they go one step further to open banking, then you've got your income and expenditure as well. So you've got a 95% hot lead that the client has done all the work on before you even got in the office the following morning. And that's where we're trying to make it as simple as possible for the broker to save time that allows them to do more business elsewhere, at the same time regulating all of their entity with regards to the client, so they don't have to worry about who's doing all these checks, because we're integrating with serious players in the marketplace that have got all the relevant entities in the background to make it as structured and straightforward and regulated as possible. So just trying to make life as simple as possible.
Yeah, sure. Was that the integration part, and you say with some serious players and very large companies, was that daunting for you?
Oh, massively. Absolutely. Because again, to start off with, in the early days, who are we? We're a little company that's building a CRM system, but we're nobody in the marketplace. So to go to some of these large giants, the Experians, the Home Tracks, the Equifaxes, the TransUnions, the OnFidos, and so on, we're no one to them. Whereas now, obviously, we're doing 1.2 billion a month. That makes us an itch they've got to scratch now. So it's a real they want to work with us. They're coming knocking on our door rather than going the other way now.
Which is a fantastic place to be. And I think that's a true testament to anyone that is starting out. It's we all talk about imposter syndrome, and that you have to just knock out the door and just keep pushing forwards one step at a time.
And it does have its challenges. You do think they sit there some days and you think, we're just never going to get them on board. You want that one company to come on board, because that's going to make a massive difference into your moving forward. And you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and eventually then they come on board, and that's great. But some days you were thinking, is this ever going to happen? Have we done the right thing? Should we have kept it internal, and so on and so on? But now it's moving itself now. It's
what did you say to yourself and your colleagues in the business when those days happened? When you were patient, thinking, what's the point? What are we doing?
Yeah, I think because we'd been through it before in the mortgage side, being a packager and everything else, we wanted certain lenders on board, and sometimes we weren't chosen, and sometimes we were chosen, and those are the sort of things you just had to wait. And it's an interesting world that volume does dictate. So if you're doing the volume in the mortgages, then that lender's going to come to you on the package side. If you're doing volumes in the CRM side, then those lenders will come to you, or those other third parties will come to you eventually. But it is a patience game sometimes, without a doubt. And also, because we've got so many clients, everybody wants different things. It was a case of actually, which road do we go down? Are we making the right choice to go this way with this third party, rather than going with that third party over there that no one has requested, but yet they're a bigger name maybe? And it was a case of working out which way do we go sometimes.
Which is something that you hear quite often with tech companies, and especially those that get more successful, is you can be incredibly nimble in the early days, and while you still may be more agile than other really large companies, you've then got to make those decisions as to, well, which is the priority and which way makes sense in the longer term, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And those sort of decisions where sit around the table and work out the pros and cons, what's right for us. Where do we think we're going to go? Where do we think we're going to be in a year's time? And that's really hard to work out in a tech company, because tech is moving so quickly. It's where do we want to be? We can fill our roadmap now for the next 2 to 3 years, but it doesn't mean it's the right way to go, because things can change in 6 months' time or 12 months' time, and buyer demands or client demands will be different now in 6 months' time.
Yeah, I want to talk about the future in a moment, actually, and but taking you back to the now, can you dive into the technology behind OMS and what makes it unique compared with other platforms available today?
Yeah, okay. I think the uniqueness is the bit that's really making us fly. In that, like I said earlier on, we will be split into various different stages, different tasks, different workflows, and everything within that, everything within the whole system is changeable with regards to the right user. So you'll have a super user password at the top. You'll have a sort of case management, administration, broker roles, all the various different roles within the life of a mortgage, and you can set all those up. You can change them today. You can change them tomorrow. Consumer duty was an ideal one that came in. Everyone had their different views on consumer duty. Well, we just created a whole, effectively a platform that people can turn on and turn off depending on which part or how in depth they want to go into consumer duty. Do they want to send out a client survey? Yes, tick, great. It'll send it out. Or do you not want to send it out? Do you want to just have 5 questions with regards to consumer duty? Are they vulnerable? Have they got learning impairments? Have they got language issues, et cetera, and those you can keep it as basic as or as in depth as you want to, because a network would want it, one way, whereas a one-man broker would want it another way. So it's sort of catering for all entities. What makes us completely different is, like I said earlier on, is we've sat in the middle and we've brought the best of the industry all around the wheel around OMS, the circle of OMS, effectively, and that means that, from a broker's point of view, they don't have to worry about integrating with 83 different people, because we're doing that. They only have to worry about one license, one login. It's all with OMS, and we're doing all the rest behind the scenes. What we also do, which makes us different, is that we're running 2-week sprint runs. So that means that we are updating the system literally as we speak. And every time I do a demo, there's something different on the system. What we're not doing is saying, well, look, you got version 1 today. If you want version 2 tomorrow, it's going to cost you X. We're saying, if you want version 2 tomorrow, you tick the box, we'll upload it for you. We'll create this. If you want these new additions, you tick the boxes, we'll add them onto your system. We're not forcing you to take them on. If you want to take them on, you can do. And effectively, the overall scenario with OMS is that we're not telling you how to run your business. You can run your business whichever way you want to do it. And we mentioned agility earlier on. If you want to go down buy-to-let route today, you can do. If you want to do residential tomorrow, you can do. If you want to do equity release the day after, you can do. We're linking them with all those sourcing systems. We're giving you the flexibility to run your business how you want to run it.
And I think the point you made about that you've done the job, and I know you've done the job and you know it inside out, back to front, and that is so valuable. Many times I've sat in the room with some incredibly smart tech people that in isolation, the ideas and thoughts, processes they have make absolute sense, completely logical. But then you have to have the strength to step in and say, absolutely, now, in isolation, that makes sense. However, that isn't where the market is. Right? The market is over here somewhere. So you may look at it and think it doesn't make sense. This is a crazy idea, but you have to just accept that's how it is, and you have to work with that. So having that ability and that knowledge where you've already done that is incredibly powerful. I know it is for me, because when I've sat in the room with these people, I think if I didn't have the experience I have, I would be overawed. Yeah. But to be able to say, well, actually, look, we tried that 5 years ago, or we tried that 10 years ago, or it might not have worked 10 years ago, but the world's changed, so it'll work today. Having that experience is massive.
I think that there's no 2 days the same in the mortgage world. So, I mean, that part, you don't know what customer is going to walk through that door. Whether it be a first-time buyer, a massive portfolio landlord, someone that's going to need equity release, someone that's just broken up with their partner, and the list goes on. And you've got to cater for all those different scenarios. If you try and then put that into a tech system, that's pretty difficult. But having that background in our heads, we know where that flow needs to go. If it needs to go this way, we'll do it. If it needs to go this way, we'll do it, and so on. And that sort of, how would I want to use this system when I'm seeing this client sitting in front of me who's buying their dream home? How do we make that as quick as possible? Because a lot of people forget that there's this person at the end called the customer. Yeah. And that can be brokers, lenders, networks, third parties, whatever. that person at the end is the only person that we're working for, because if we don't get their mortgage sorted, we don't get paid. And that's that bottom line. So how do we make that as simple as possible, the minimal touch points all the way through the system, to get that end goal as quickly as possible? And that's what our mantra has been all the way through. Also, where we've grown so quickly, customer service has been our absolute key point here. Make sure that we're not forgetting our tail as we move forward so quickly, and make sure that our customers are happy with everything they do within the system. And still, even now, I reckon probably most of our customers don't use the system to its full potential, because it's just growing so quickly, and we're trying to make sure that we have training sessions with everybody to make sure they know exactly all the functionality of the system, because that one little bit of system they don't understand or haven't used before may cut off 20 minutes within the mortgage process.
Yeah, and that actually takes us on nicely, because I wanted to go back, and you mentioned earlier about integrating with other systems and companies, and to that point, how exactly does OMS integrate with other systems and platforms that the brokers may already be using, and what efficiencies does that bring, to your point that you've just spoken about, where brokers may not even know that there is the functionality there that can help them?
Sure. Again, what we don't want to do is we don't want to make everybody start fresh. So changing CRM systems, a lot of people are scared of change, and that includes lenders as well. They've always done it this way. It's always worked this way. Why do I need to change things? Well, now these things are ruining our lives, because everything we do is on that phone. 7 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. Your life is on that phone. And if you've ever lost your phone or whatever else, it feels like your left arm's gone. So those are the sort of things that we need to cater for. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to say to everybody, you must change your whole scenario, your whole system, and so on. So if they're already using a sourcing system, or if they're already using a mortgage protection platform, or those sort of things, the ability within OMS to carry on that relationship allows them just to literally type in their password and their logins and whatever else, and they can carry on keeping all their clients in the same place, and they don't have to change those sort of scenarios. So they change the CRM, but actually they can bring along with them their previous sourcing system entity, their previous mortgage protection entity, or they've got AVMs or whatever else within the system. We can allow them to log back in, and it just creates it, because it's all integrated with OMS. So we're trying to make things as easy and as less scary as possible, because you are changing your engine. The engine runs your business, and that's what OMS does. And I get it that some systems are quite antiquated, and we've always done it this way, and we've always worked on Excel files and so on and so on. We're trying to bring that now into, put it all into one system. It sits in the cloud. You can access it wherever you want to, any time of day or night. You can restrict it if you want to. If you want to go abroad and not access your system and so on and so on, you can do. If you want staff to work from 9 to 5, and after that you don't want them to access the system, you can do, and so on. But it's bringing that control function to the user, and then people have said to us, well, we haven't got staff to deal with this, and we can't code. Well, you don't need to, because it's all set within the system anyway. You don't need coding abilities. You just need to understand, there's a super user at the top that has access to everything, and then beneath that you'll have a couple of people that are experts in OMS, and beneath that you'll have all the other staff entities with regards to case management or salespeople, and so on and so on. And we structure it in that way, and we help teach them how to use the system to its best ability, but also with the ability to change things as they want to, and when they want to as well. They don't have to wait for us to change things. They can just do it themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So
that also brings in, absolutely. And the two-way APIs with everything. Everything has to be two-way. It has to come back into the system. There's no point in having a fire out to a lender, and then you've got to go out of OMS to log into the lender's system to get the response. There's no point in doing that. Everything has to come back into OMS, because that's what, we're getting away, like I mentioned earlier on, we're getting away with that 11 possible opportunities of making a mistake with just a one login.
And that's interesting, because as you touched on as well, in respect of lenders and lender systems, they don't have one system. I remember when I started at Foundation, which of course used to be GMAC, and I think it was my first day when I was hunting around the whole office for which server had the POS system on it, and then understanding it was about 10 systems put together, and of course it was all defunct and etc. gone then. So when you're speaking to maybe CTOs at lenders. What are the challenges there? Is it because they've got so many different bolt-ons? Are you seeing some lenders saying, absolutely, we can just do this with you, we're there? Are you getting pushback from others?
I think it depends on lender to lender, because I think it's taken a while, but I think the next 24 months, we're going to see massive transformation across the lender market, because tech's moving so quickly, and you've got this next generation of people who are coming through who do everything on their phones. And if you're not available, if you're not capable, and you're not ready for that functionality, you're going to miss that generation. And that's quite substantial for the smaller building societies who, some of them still have passbooks, for example. And you need to now be on that next generation of entity coming forward, because if you're not, because tech is moving so quickly, they're going to get left behind. And what we said to quite a few of them now is, like, yes, we understand you work on Excel files, and yes, you understand that you still do a lot of stuff manually. Well, the tech can do both. It can still do a lot of automation and get rid of the mundane day-to-day administration, calculations, criteria checks, et cetera, to help you speed up. But if you want it to, it can still download into an Excel file every night so that someone can read it and so on, or if you need to offload it to somewhere else. You can still attract different customers. You can still turn on various products. Today you might be on residential, you might want to go into the buy-to-let market, you might want to go into the joint borrower sole proprietor market. Those are the sort of things that we can turn on today. But if it gets too much for you and you can't cope with your service levels, we can turn it off as well. And the difference with us on the lender side now is that there's not many others that have gone into the origination market that bring a CRM with them. So we're bringing guaranteed business into anyone who takes the OMS origination system, has 2,300 brokers that can bring in business almost from day one. Whereas with others, you'd have to go and attract it, then link in, and so on and so on. Whereas lenders at the moment don't want to have to link into 83 different CRM systems. I think they probably want to link in with 5 or 10. That's cost efficient for them over the next sort of 24 months. And I would think if you're not in that 5 or 10, then you're probably going to get left behind as a CRM system as well now. I think it's a two-way entity. If the lenders don't catch up and deal with tech that's coming their way quickly, they'll get left behind. And at the same time, if the CRMs can't get into those lenders, then they're going to get left behind as well. So
can you talk more generally about what you think or how you think the industry is going to move over the next 5 years, 10 years? Is everything going to be we could talk about AI all day, but specifically let's talk about the next 5 years, how you feel it will go.
I don't know what I'm doing in the next 5 minutes, let alone in the next 5 years. It is so difficult to predict what's going to happen at the moment, because you're seeing things all the time. All I can say at the moment, I think, is the mortgage system, the mortgage process is not broken, but it can be so much more efficient than it is at the moment. And you've got lots of people that are creating a lot of noise in the market, and a lot of people buy that noise, unfortunately. It really is a case of you've got to do your homework with the people that you're looking to get into bed with to make sure that actually the efficiencies that they're going to bring to you are something that you can use and utilize over the next sort of 24 to 60 months, maybe. From our point of view, I think right now we're looking at probably the next 24 months. Because tech is moving so fast, what's going to happen in 6 months will be only 3 months the next year, and then it will get quicker and quicker and quicker. And yes, AI is in the background. I haven't seen anything that's set my world alight just yet on the mortgage side. There are some great things out there, but a lot of it is machine learning. You're chucking stuff in, the machine's going to learn, it'll read it, it'll look at criteria and so on and so on. There's a few nice bits with regards to ID coming through. So, if you take a picture of yourself and you're 5'6", but actually someone else takes a picture of you and you're all of a sudden you're 6 foot, it can work out the difference in your height and whatever else, and then it can register your fraudulent activity, etc. I think that's where the main part of the AI is going to come in, is recognizing fraud, because obviously fraud is massively on the increase at the moment.
And what about your work with the Open Property Data Association? Does that influence what you do at OMS or vice versa? Massively,
absolutely. So Maria has done a cracking job over the last 24 months with regards to OPDA, and she's a very well respected individual in the market. And I joined, I think it's about a year ago now, with regards to being the CRM sort of provider on the exec committee. And we deal with, there are other great people on the committee like PEXA and Cojut and LMS and so on, and many others I haven't named. But where we're going at the moment is it's great you can get a mortgage offer out in a minute. That's brilliant. But we've done that for probably 15, 20 years. There was a 1 minute mortgage back in the older days with BM and you mentioned GMAC and so on and so on. There was some great stuff there with systems, but there's no point in getting a mortgage offer out in a minute if it's only going to sit there for 20 weeks until the solicitors and the legal side do all their back end checks. Land registry takes 6 months to register the property and so on and so on. So what we're doing there is that we're bringing everything to the front with regards to all the various entities within that framework of property registration, processing, etc. And we're bringing it all, in very layman's terms, bringing it all to the front of the entity because it should be able to be done in seconds. All of that, the searches, the land registries, it's all electronic stuff, and it's all capable. The capabilities there. Just all these people don't talk to each other, and what Maria's done is managed to get everybody in a room, including governments, including a few other regulated entities as well. Why can we not do this right at the outset? When I'm doing a decision in principle with a lender, why can we not have all of this information right at the front so they can make an informed decision on the whole process, not just the client, but the property as well? And once the property part is, we're doing a proof of concept at the moment, which should be available in the next few weeks. And after that, we're then looking at identification. Why is the identification, possibly with the same provider, being requested 5 or 6 times from estate agent to broker to packager to network to solicitor to lender, etc., etc. And we're all using the same ID. So why can we not have that as one certified, trusted entity right from day one all the way through, and we don't have to request it 5 or 6 times? And those are the sort of things now that OPDA is involved in with regards to making this process. That part of the process has been broken, without a doubt. It is so slow with regards to the back-end property transaction. Why should it take 20 odd weeks when it can take minutes or days? And that's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
I think it's across the board. It's not just on that part, but it's other parts of the mortgage process that should be a lot quicker.
Yeah. I was talking to a broker that had been working out in New Zealand, and it sounds like they've got it more or less sorted over there in terms of speed and structure and systems and stuff. So, I know it's a much smaller market, but okay. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced in running a tech-driven business like OMS, especially in an industry as traditional as mortgages? I suppose we've really just sort of touched on that there with legacy systems. Is there anything else?
Money, without a doubt. It costs a lot of money to get the right developers on board.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those things where you need to be confident in your own path and where you're going and what you're trying to achieve. The challenge has always been, which way do we go? Is this right for us? Is this right for the customer? Are we listening to everything that they want? And then choosing the right partners to go with as well. And those are partners that we want to, I think there's going to be a lot of mergers and acquisitions over the next 24 months in the tech industry.
Yeah.
Whether it be, massively, without a doubt. Like I said, tech costs money, and it's a lot of money to keep funding and moving forward. And lots of brokers come to me and said, "Oh, we love your system, but we're going to write our own." Great, brilliant. I encourage them to do it, but you've got to have deep pockets to write your own CRM system because, and like I mentioned earlier on, the big guys now are knocking on our door, but it's taken us 7 years to get here. We've got a tier 1 lender coming on board on a full 2A API in the next couple of weeks. And that's taken us 7 years for them to come on board. Well, when they come on board, you're going to have FOMO from everybody else as to saying, well, if they're dealing with OMS, why aren't we dealing with them? And so on and so on. And when you're writing your own CRM system, I go back to my point earlier on, the lenders are not going to want to integrate with 70 different people. They're going to pick 5 or 10 maximum that will guarantee them business over the next 24 months. And they're the ones that they will put their investment into, and everybody else will be left behind. So money, most definitely. A good management team, absolutely 100%, because there is we've got various different skill sets in the industry. Good developers, massively, and all of our developers sit in Horsham in West Sussex, so they're right outside our offices here, which means that we can prioritise as we need to. So if something urgent comes in, we can do it.
Was that easy to get the right caliber of developers. Where you are is a lovely part of the world, but it's not central London.
No, exactly. No, but yes and no. It's taken us a while to build the right team up, and we've obviously had some people come in and said they can code and whatever else, and when you get down to the bottom line, they're not as good as they said they were. And we've now got a really good young team who are absolutely at the forefront of the coding and tech, and they all talk a different language, Paul, to be honest. I've got no idea. They go off into one. He's talking about this, he's talking about that. I've got absolutely no idea. Can we do it? Can we put this on screen? Yes. And then they go into their own little world. And some of them come in, kick their shoes off, sit there in their socks, put their headphones on, don't talk to anybody all day. That's great. They're all great guys, and they all go out most nights and have a good conversation.
I used to make our tech team smile because I'd go and just stand over there, and they'd look at me and sort of say, "What are you doing?" And I'd say, "I'm just trying to make myself feel more intelligent."
I remember going into your offices, and I think they were all they had all Post-it notes, all literally all across the walls.
Yeah.
And that was great. Yeah. But our guys are a similar sort of thing, but it's now all online. But I would look at the dev board and what they've got to do, and it makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. But as long as they can get what I want, or what we've just decided as a management team, up on the screen in certain times, then that's really good.
Mm-hmm. So your businesses are very much family run. What are some of the benefits and challenges of working closely with family members?
Oh, there's been a lot of challenges, Paul. Been lots of challenges over the years.
The ones you can talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. The ones I want to put on a recording. Look, at the end of the day, we are the red tape, which is nice. On all the parts of the businesses, it may well be we make a decision over a Sunday lunch, and on a Monday morning we make that decision and go ahead, and it moves forward. Which,
by the way, I've been told on many occasions how good your mum's Sunday lunch is. So
it's amazing, absolutely amazing. You can't beat mum's Sunday lunch without a doubt.
So you have those conversations over the dinner table might become a little bit passionate, maybe.
Yeah, they can do, absolutely, and they have done. We've been through the recessions, we've been through the various different entities, and I've been doing this 25 years now in the mortgage world. So we've seen and done and dealt with most pretty things, and we try to do the best that we can. That's all you can do. At the end of the day, is you can make a decision, you stick with it, you go by it, and then if it works, great, and if it doesn't work, you change it and you move forward. But the nice thing is, we're all adults. We all have a conversation. Some of us will be right, some of us will be wrong. We'll all have our own individual, views on those sort of things, but that's part of also bringing in other individuals into the teams who will challenge us, because the family is not always right, and by bringing experts in from lenders or other third parties, you listen to their views, and sometimes you'll go with them as well. So it all depends on that's part of building a team to make it work on all entities. But yes, there has been some challenging times without doubt.
So leading on, what are the failures that you cherish the most?
Oh, that's a good question. The failures we cherish the most. Do you know what? I don't know off the top of my head. I can't even think of something that's really kicking me in the
anything on the mortgage side, going back to the credit crunch?
Look, we did well. Like most, we've been around long enough to think about these things, and what we did through the credit crunch was try and stay out, keep our head above water, and keep the business going, and rightly so, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be here right now with OMS and everything else. So I don't know. I think there's always things you can do better, and hindsight's an easy thing to go back and say, well, I could have done this a lot better, and I could have bought some property in Mayfair in 1980, and it would be worth a lot of money now. But I don't think it's anything that stands out. We've definitely learned from our mistakes, and you just get yourself back up and you move forward as quickly as possible.
Finally, what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs looking to start a tech-based company in the financial sector?
That's a really good question. And there have been some really good startups just over the last 12 months as well. I've seen a few of them that are coming into the market that were really good. The only advice I can say is a couple of things. Don't get waylaid with all the noise that's in the market, because there is a lot of noise from certain people, and it is noise, and people buy into noise once you keep hearing it, then you think, oh, that must be the right way to go. It doesn't necessarily mean it is. I would say there's quite a few things to think about. One is choose your partners really, really well. Make sure that you're looking at someone that if you're going to integrate with them or deal with them, that they're going to be here in 2, 3, or 5 years' time. Choose your investors really well, because everyone needs investors. And it took us 4 years probably to choose the right investor. And we were very close to signing a couple of times with certain companies, which would have been amazing, but it wouldn't have been right for us in hindsight. And that's, we were lucky. It's one of those, sometimes you just get a gut feel not to do it, and we didn't. And as a result, it came out. And then choose your markets carefully as well, because I think also the markets are changing quite substantially at the moment as well. So choosing the right area to go into is something that, from a tech-based entity, if you're going to, I think where we've done really well with OMS is we've stuck in the middle. We haven't tried to do sourcing. We haven't tried to do criteria. We haven't tried to do, we've stuck in the middle, and then we've brought the best of the industry into our circle. And I think that's worked really, really well for us. And we're still doing it now. Every day our customers coming to us and saying, can we have X on board, or can we have Y on board, or this new company's come here, and we'll do a lot of due diligence on them. We'll have a chat with them. We'll see what their plans are, and if they are fit, if they're the right fit for OMS moving forward. But I love it. I love the tech side. I didn't, 5 years ago, there's no way I thought we'd have an IT company or a tech company, and we're now, it's one of the larger ones in the industry, and it's we're buzzing off that every day, that we can help people move forward.
I admire you for it, and your family hugely, because you constantly look to push forward. It doesn't matter what's in the way, you keep trying to create and innovate, and you've done that right from your old man, your dad, all the way through. I think it's brilliant, and I think it's a great example to those out there that are having, they're at the start of their business, or they may have been a year or two in and thinking, I'm not sure about this, and you're
keep going.
Exactly. Clear evidence.
If you think it's the right, if you think it's the right thing, if you think you're bringing something that can change the industry, and there's a lot of things that can, over the next 24 months, there's going to be a lot of gaps in the tech financial world, and if you've got something that you think can change that or fill that gap, then absolutely. Client retention is huge at the moment, and anything that we can do as an industry to make sure that client comes back to the broker. Because let's be realistic, the high streets and everything else, there's a lot of stuff in there that tech can take them can take that client directly, and we want to keep them into the broker side. So anything that we can do to make sure that client is updated, contacted, and will come back to the broker at a later date, that's got to be key into the whole industry at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a great way to finish, and I really appreciate your time today. It's been brilliant. Dale Jannels, thank you very much.
Enjoyed talking to you, Paul, as always.
You can go back to bed. No, I'm joking. One final question. I'm a large. Can I get one of them hoodies, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you one. I'll send you one in the post.
Dale, you're a legend.
Good to talk to you. Thank you.